I don't know about you guys, but at the moment, I just can't get enough of the Battlefield 2042 news. Every little detail that comes out, and I'm right there ready to hear about it. Today, we've got some extra information that comes out of an extended Xbox showcase video on YouTube via a segment where Dan Berlin, the design director for 2042, he spilled the beans on a couple of other things. We're going to work through that info here today in this video, as well as a few extra details that I've picked up from Twitter feeds from a few of the developers. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more Battlefield 2042 videos, and drop a like as well if you go on to enjoy this one. So let's start off with a little bit of extra information about Hazard Zone. This is DICE's as yet undetailed game mode that will stand apart from the usual conquest and breakthrough action that we're all used to. This is the mode that DICE has been saying very clearly is not a battle royale. Although from the way they describe it, it certainly sounds like it's got some battle royale elements in there. It's bringing tension to Battlefield, which is what battle royale is really based on. You're fighting to be the last man standing. But this mode is not a battle royale, so what is it? Well, here's the official line from DICE, the most recent one from their community stream. Hazard Zone takes the Battlefield formula to a new level. It's a high-stakes, squad-based, contemporary experience. This is not a battle royale mode. It's something we're building for Battlefield that is ours, built to build tension as you play, and gets you those sweaty palm moments. Your squad's choices with regards to weaponry and specialists when you enter the mode are massively important, and you'll need tight communication in order to succeed. Now, in my previous video earlier this week, I described some kind of escape from Tarkov style mode. That was just my own opinion, by the way. I don't have any information on this, and it's just based on what DICE has told us. And now we have this first image here of Hazard Zone in the background that you've been looking at. It's an aircraft carrier with players getting into a chopper. Maybe they're being transported into some kind of conflict zone. I'm actually going to put a bit more faith in my own guesstimation now. The high stakes, the tension that's being mentioned, that means there's going to be consequences if your squad is wiped out. So perhaps like Tarkov, you lose your gear that you came in with and the gear that you collected whilst you were deployed in the Hazard Zone with your squad. It's still not a ton of information that we've got for this mode, but right now, the more I hear about it, the more I'm excited by Hazard Zone. As I'm sure you can tell, I've grown to really like Battle Royale games and modes over the last year, and I know that Hazard Zone isn't going to be a Battle Royale, but if it brings that tension, that risk, and the tight team play that you get in Battle Royale games as well, I can really see myself playing this mode quite a lot going forwards. Next, let's talk about destruction. So far for Battlefield 2042, we've really not heard or seen much about it whatsoever. In the reveal trailer, we got to see the huge tornado throwing vehicles, soldiers, and objects around, but there was nothing concrete that we could really point to and say, yes, this Battlefield game has some proper destruction in it. Then we had the gameplay trailer just a few days later, and strangely, it was devoid of destruction as well, and it would have been the perfect time to maybe show off some soldiers that were blowing up cover and revealing enemy positions, or smashing down a wall with a tank to create a new pathway. But no, we didn't really get to see anything. However, since then, as part of this extended Xbox showcase video, Dan Berlin has spoken about destruction on the Hourglass map specifically, and based on what he said, it's really reassured me that DICE is going to bring its signature destruction mechanism into Battlefield 2042. Here's what he had to say.
Down to the south of the map, you'll have a fully destructible village. And this is a great space for infantry and vehicles alike, because you know as a Battlefield player that infantry is skulking around inside the buildings, but you know when you're in your tank or your attack helicopter, you can just can destroy those buildings and get access to the infantry. And you can go further east and you'll find a bunch of high-rises, skyscrapers. And so there's a whole section there where you can enter the skyscrapers, you can go up to the top of them, you can zip line between the roofs, have fights in between the rooftops. But if you want to change it up even more, you can basically skydive off of the skyscrapers. And if you're playing a particular specialist that has access to a wingsuit, you can actually glide across the entire map space and get yourself all the way over to the stadium, which is on the east side of the map. And the stadium itself, it's a place you go when you really want to just take out your shotgun and have some close quarters combat.
So it seems that the Hourglass map specifically, we can't really talk about any of the other maps because he didn't reference them. But on Hourglass, it seems like the map's going to have these different zones, where destruction is maybe more or less prevalent. So down to the south, we've got some kind of fully destructible town, so maybe we're going to see smaller buildings similar to what we've seen in previous Battlefield games, where you can smash out almost every wall, and sometimes even level the building completely. Then we've got this big Neon City skyscraper section, and it's going to be more about vertical gameplay, based on what Daniel said. You're going to be using those lifts and zip lines to go across the rooftops, and then you're going to be fighting down in the streets with vehicles on the ground. There might be limited destruction here in order to keep like a good gameplay flow. And then lastly, Daniel mentions the stadium, which is a perfect place for close quarters fighting with shotguns and SMGs, so maybe having some destruction there to just cause chaos in tighter spaces. That's kind of the idea I'm getting. But overall, this news is extremely welcome. I think a lot of you, like me, you had this fear that DICE was somehow toning down the destruction in favor of these big map-changing events, and that's something they did in Battlefield 4 with their Levolution marketing, and a lot of people didn't like it as much as the freeform destruction that you can do with a tank ramming down a wall, or C4 or an RPG and just blowing something up. It looks like the power of next gen is coming through here, and they've got the ability to do those big events and the smaller scale destruction all at once, which is great news if that's happening. Then we got this really handy graphic here in the DICE live stream earlier this week, and I forgot to mention it in my previous video, and a lot of people kind of liked the tweet that I put up about it. All of the maps in Battlefield 2042 are here compared to others that have come before it, so you've got an idea of scale. Working our way up from the left, we've got Kaleidoscope, which is just a little bit larger than the Rotterdam map in Battlefield 5, and if you played on that map, you'll know that the Rotterdam map was pretty small. Then we move up to like Discarded. It's almost twice as large as Noshar Canals from Battlefield 3. And I know Noshar Canals had a lot of water on it, which took up a lot of the play space, but still, overall, that was quite a large map. So if Discarded is even bigger, you know, we're in for a treat. And then we go all the way up to Breakaway on the far right-hand side. It's huge, even in comparison to 1942's El Alamein, which in itself was absolutely massive as a play space. So if you weren't aware at this point of just how big Battlefield 2042 is going to be, then this image here should set you straight. And of course, just to reiterate, 128 players will be supported on Conquest and Breakthrough on all of these maps, by the way, for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X and S. So you can imagine the kind of chaos that you're going to have on a map like Kaleidoscope, which is the smallest one, and it's going to have double the player count of the Rotterdam map in BF5, and it's only just slightly bigger. That is going to be absolutely mental, and I just can't wait to give it a go. Now, we do actually have a bit of extra information about the Breakaway map as well. DICE gave us a bit more, and I think that's probably because it's the biggest map they have in the entire game. It's going to have an oil rig on it within the play space that players can get onto and they can fight for. That sounds kind of mental, and if you like Operation Metro or Locker, that's probably going to be the place on this map that you should go if you like playing TDM. There will also be large open stretches of these ice fields that are littered with fuel cell locations and outposts, and there's going to be some kind of big port at the land's edge as well. And I should mention the map includes that weather station on top of the mountain that we saw in the reveal trailer. Really iconic Battlefield moment from Damavand Peak Battlefield 3, the helipad base jump. I cannot wait to give that a go. And then something else that's cropped up in conversation quite a lot this week is the Plus system. This is this live in-game weapon customization that's coming to 2042. Lots of players have been asking all sorts of questions about this system, and I can understand pretty much all of them, because there are some concerns about it. But Dan Berlin did touch on it in the DICE live stream earlier this week. He said that with the Plus system, the team wanted players to be able to adapt to a changing situation without the friction that you got in the older titles, where theoretically you'd have to just be killed off, you'd have to go back to the menu and respawn with different gear, although you could go over to a dead soldier and pick up their gear, but there was no guarantee it was going to be any better in the situation than what you were already holding. So the Plus system gives players a few different options for barrels, under barrels, ammo types, and optics, so that if they know they're going into a situation where combat is going to be, let's say, longer range, they can put a longer barrel on the gun and maybe a zoomed optic as well, and they'll be in a better place to compete in that gunfight. However, the team also realizes how powerful a system like this could be, so it is going to be limited for balance purposes. The example that Daniel used is that you won't be able to create a sniper rifle on the fly when you're just holding an SMG. So the changes to attachments will keep the weapon within its specific archetype role. So let's take the SMG as an example. It will keep it as a close range effective gun, but it will push the boundaries. So maybe you get a little bit more range with a longer barrel, or you could take the barrel off and then go to iron sights and get really quick movement speed or fast aim down sight time or something like that. You're going to stay within your weapon role. You're not going to be able to, like he says, build a sniper rifle out of an SMG. And then just to finish up, we do have a couple small details. Progression within Battlefield 2042, it's going to be streamlined so that regardless of which specialist you're playing as, you'll always earn progression towards the hardware in the game, so your guns, your vehicles, and your gadgets. There will be free and paid tiers on each of the season battle passes within Battlefield 2042, and in the free tier, that will have all the gameplay items like new guns, new vehicles, and specialists. The paid tier, that will be cosmetic and non-gameplay affecting items only, which is really good to get clarification on. And then lastly, a small update to the Battlefield website for the Dice LA mode included in the game now reads, discover unexpected battles and enter the wide universe of battlefields with this experience, which will be shown on July 22nd at EA Play Live. Now, that's really interesting, because before they've just said it's a love letter to Battlefield fans, and really, that could be a lot of different things, but if DICE has like bigger plans than we realize for this 2042 story, this might be the place that we get to see that information revealed. That's some really exciting stuff. And that's pretty much everything. You're bang up to date now with Battlefield 2042. Let me know your thoughts on this stuff down below in the comments. I'm definitely more reassured now about destruction, but I'm waiting for some more gunplay gameplay. I want to see what the guns feel like in this game. But thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.